Okay, so you guys are in for a treat today because you are truly being graced with the presence of the queen of statement hair, Naeemah LaFond. Now, Naeemah, she's Haitian-American, Brooklyn-born, New York-based. She's the global artistic director for haircare brand Amika, which I'm sure a lot of you know about. Great packaging. Always attracted to the packaging of that brand. Her name rings bells for creating head-turning statement looks on the runways, in editorial stories, in global ad campaigns. So really, from effortless looks to her signature structured wonders, Naeemah does it all, and she does it all across all the texture types. So Naeemah, welcome to the Texture Lounge.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. I'm going to take you everywhere with me. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome to. You're welcome. So there was a question that I used to open up my interviews with in the past that I haven't asked in a while, but I'm going to bring it back today.
Okay.
What's the meaning behind your name, Naeemah?
So the name Naeemah is actually an Arabic name, but that's not where I got it from. My father named me after a John Coltrane song called Naeemah.
Ah.
Yes, my father used to play jazz. He was a musician, and John Coltrane was one of his favorites, and the song Naeemah is what he named me after.
Big John Coltrane fan. I'm going to have to dig out the song so that I can place the name to the actual reference.
Yeah, no one ever knows that, but in college, black and music professor, he called me out and he's like, I just want to know, are you named after the John Coltrane song? No one
Love it.
knows that.
Love that. Love that. That's how you can tell he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm seeing a lot of conversation around, especially like for business owners and entrepreneurs, the conversation around zone of genius and identifying what your zone of excellence is, etc. So for those of you who are listening and that may not know the difference between the two, zone of excellence is basically when you are doing something that you're tremendously skilled at. So you've practiced it, you've cultivated it, you've established it over time. But your zone of genius is really the zone where you capitalize on your natural abilities, which are just innate rather than learned. What would you define as your zone of genius?
Listening to you recite the meanings behind the two, I kind of feel like mine intersect. I feel like both my zone of genius and my zone of excellence is doing editorial work and working on all textures of hair, because I personally look at hair as like a medium of art, instead of just hair, because that's how I came into the business doing it.
Sure.
So doing that, like editorially, like just tapping into my creative space and just being able to just build and sculpt, I think that's where I personally come alive. That's where my best work happens.
And what do you think it is about you that makes you great at what you do?
Staying true to myself and creating things that I want to see, as opposed to creating things that people like.
That's big. That's big, right? I mean, I think for a lot of stylists, at least in the beginning, they feel like they have to produce content and work that is liked across the board versus getting to the point in your career where you've made a name for yourself and developed your reputation and feel like you can now step into the open and create only the type of work that you want to see. Do you feel like you've been this way from the very beginning, or you've gotten yourself to the point where you can now create what you want?
I think I've been this way from the beginning because of how my career started. I don't have the the traditional start to my career. I started doing editorial work before I even went to beauty school. So before I learned the right way to do things, I was just doing it my own way. And before I worked in a salon, I was on set doing things out of the norm. We're not doing what you're seeing on the street. We're not doing what you're seeing at home. We're trying to elevate that or add a twist to it or add a creative element to it that maybe some people don't like, but it's really about art and creativity. So that's where my my home is. And I I think I'm from that. I work from that
world
all the time. Yeah.
Got it. What's one word to describe how you're feeling right now in this moment?
Happy.
Oh, good.
Happy. Yes.
Good. Good. Would you say that you're introverted or extroverted, and how does that play in how you create?
I'm definitely innately introverted, but I have some extrovert qualities. I mean, if you look at what I do for a living, I'm the global artistic director of a brand. I'm on stages all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very extrovert of me. But for some reason, I feel more comfortable to be extroverted while on stage. Maybe it's because of that distance that's there.
You can't see the individual faces when you're on stage.
I don't necessarily need to interact on a very personal level. My interaction comes with eye contact and body language, and that's how I'm interacting with the audience, and that feels good for me. But also, I think who I am as far as introvert or extrovert really also depends on who I'm with. Yeah. If I'm with some extroverts that are genuinely themselves, like true to themselves, I come out of my shell completely. But there are also people that are putting on and, for an audience and just creating a show. And I feel like the entertainer in me, the stage presence in me can always spot that.
Yeah.
And I stay clear. I'm like, you're working right now.
It's like, where's the off button? Where's the off button? Please just dial it back. I'm very similar like that. It drains me. I mean, I'm introverted. So being around extroverts in general tend to drain me. But that personality that you just described, that is like a big red flag for me. It's like, no, can't do this. I haven't charged up my battery enough to deal with this today.
Right.
Okay. Are you reading any books right now?
I am. I just bought this book by Amber Carrall. Say more about that.
Oh, tell us about it.
And it talks about other ways to speak up and push back. I'm just cracking it open, so I haven't really gotten into it yet. But she is a DE&I expert, and she talks a lot about speaking up and advocating for yourself and for others. And I'm always in the space of wanting to do more of that. So I just wanted to hear what she had to say about it.
That's definitely a book that I'm going to add to my Amazon cart probably today or tomorrow. It sounds like something that I'd be very interested in. Okay, so your personal fashion and beauty style, I want to hear you describe that in your own words, because, whenever I've seen you, whether it's through IG or on stage, first of all, you've got iconic hair every single time, which makes sense. Your hair is stunning, it's beautiful, it's you, and it speaks to your work, actually. But tell us, I want to hear from you. What's your personal style?
I think effortless sexy is my personal style. Ooh, I love I dig that. Sexy, so I do love a little tight fitting something.
Okay.
But I love to be comfortable. And I think that interaction between the two, kind of like what I'm wearing right now, a little crop top with a very loose silk shirt over it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I live in terms of style.
Love.
Thanks.
And so when you were growing up, casting your mind back those years ago, was there an insecurity that you had that you eventually came over that you're willing to share with with my listeners?
I think just talking to people
okay.
had been an insecurity of mine since I was a little girl. I was always super shy and, very nervous and feeling very anxious in social spaces. I think also, especially being in a Haitian family, a lot of people are very boisterous and outgoing and, telling stories and talkative. And I felt very different from that experience. And felt oftentimes why am I not more like my sister? Why am I not more like my cousins who just jump right in there hey, everybody. And I'm just hi. But meeting my husband actually took me out of that. My husband is my complete opposite in terms of personality.
Mm-hmm.
He is very outgoing, very extroverted. He will talk to anyone and everyone.
Right.
And when we first met, that was like very scary to me because I'm with you. So if you're talking to them, I have to talk to them. But he taught me how non-scary that can be. Like you're in your head too much. It's not that serious. You could just say hi.
Yeah.
You know, like strike a conversation. And that helped me so much in my work with Amika because
I bet.
after we met, I ended up traveling a lot all over the world. And those skills that I attained being with him and being able to like open up and just talk to people really helped me to learn so much about people and the world and just really helped me gain so many new experiences when I traveled, you know, talking to locals and interacting with people. But I still had that New Yorker in me that can kind of discern between like safe and not safe. So
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So let's talk about making space for creativity. I would love to know that moment when you realized a career in hair was going to be your jam.
I definitely specifically remember my friend of mine was an aspiring model at the time, and she's like, I'm going to do this thing called a test shoot. And everyone comes and collaborates on this photo shoot, and I don't have anyone to do the hair. Do you want to do the hair? And I was always in hair, so it wasn't like she was asking someone that didn't do hair, but I never did it professionally. I was always the friend in the group that's doing everyone's hair before the party and, you know, fixing everyone's makeup to that level. So when she's like, she needed someone to do her hair, I was like, sure. And I grabbed like the most nothing bag, like maybe like a plastic bag, threw like a curling iron and some clips in there and went off to this test shoot. What that even meant. And I walked in, I remember it was like, I think it was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I walked into this tiny, scrappy little studio, and there was the photographer and like the makeup artist and the wardrobe stylist and everyone pulling together this look on her and me doing the hair. And they're like, yeah, just whatever you think would go with this clothes and this background. And I just remember feeling like, wow, like y'all do this for a living? Like this is a job? Like this is a thing? And I so feel like that was the first time I felt fully alive. Like I could literally feel the blood running through my veins with like excitement and adrenaline. Like, wow, like that day was the day that I really felt like I found the thing that I want to do. Prior to that, I had tried so many different things and I'd never saw the child try so many different things. I went to FIT for like a certificate program to learn marketing. I was just trying it. I mean, I learned everything that I did ended up helping me in my career at some point. I also tried to be like a tax accountant. Like I'm horrible at math. Like why would I even do that?
Oh, that's an interesting, different, like not creative.
Not creative. But I'm like, I was so lost in that class. I was like, why am I doing this? What else? I studied biomedical pharmacology in college.
Oh, wow.
That was my major. So I was pre-med for a year and a half. And then I went to sociology.
Wow. Okay.
The job that I had prior to like risking it all and trying to become a hairstylist, I was working at the district attorney's office as a court clerk.
Oh my God.
So I thought maybe I'd be a lawyer.
Wow. You really have done the gamut. You really have.
Yeah. And I was really good at that job. Like I got an award from the district attorney and everything.
Ooh. Okay.
I knew what to do. Like I was good at it, but I wasn't passionate about it.
Okay. Super clear. Thanks for taking us on that journey. I never would have known otherwise.
So random.
That's why it's good to ask questions. Okay. I want to talk about your looks, right? Your signature looks they're unparalleled. Let's be honest. They're phenomenally extra. And I'm going to share some images of some of your work, with those who are listening that may not have seen. What I love about the looks is that even when you create these amazing structured pieces or looks, they are so soft with movement. And for me, that's always been like the Naeemah effect. Like whenever I see a look, I'm like, that's Naeemah. Like it is this fabulous, fabulous thing, but it just looks, you want to touch it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to put you in the mode. It's time to create one of your signature iconic looks for, I don't know, a major beauty moment, an event, or a campaign. What sparks your creativity process?
I need no one to talk to me. I need,
oh my God, I'm like that.
I need some isolation a little bit. And I don't need to be alone. Like I could be in a room with 300 people, but I just I need to zone in on the model. Like I need to look at the woman that I'm working on so I can see what it is that she's going to carry best, because everything's not for everyone. And I think my ability to do that is one of my strengths, to see that this innate thing that you had, like big ornament hairstyle that you had for this girl before you met her, it's not going to work because she's maybe a little bit more reserved and timid. What can make her feel more confident, and what can make her stand a little bit straighter without scaring her? And taking that time to like look at someone and really analyze them and see how they move and how they turn their head and how they touch their hair helps me to really create something that's specifically for them.
I can, like, the perfect answer, because as you were speaking, it was almost like a movie. I could see you in your space, 300 people blurred out, and you kind of looking at the model, the different angles, etc. So I've got that picture in my head. Do you ever get inspired by industries outside of beauty? And if so, which ones?
I wouldn't say industries outside of beauty.
Okay.
I think traveling is what has inspired me the most.
Okay.
Just seeing things from other people's perspective has been really eye-opening to me. Like even just how people look at American culture and American fashion and style and what they highlight and what they think is super cool, like looking at it from their lens, and also just understanding like local fashion and culture and local beauty trends and just beauty practices has really been something that has been impactful in my career.
And so I want to know a little bit about pivoting, because you kind of alluded to it earlier on, right? You might walk into a session or an editorial shoot with an idea of the look that you were going to create on a model, but then you see her, and maybe you realize that for whatever reason you need to take a different direction. Yeah. So how do you handle pivoting when you are up against the clock?
I think I do my best work up against the clock.
Okay. You're one of those people.
I am one of those people. Girl, right before our call, I was like doing 5 million things. I'm like, 2:00, poop.
And she's here.
But like, I kind of thrive in that. I think that a little rush of adrenaline, a little fire under you that, okay, like you really have to think about something, like get things going. Because I am such a relaxed person, like very low key. Things like that, things like a time clock, a little bit of pressure, really get me going. It's so easy for me to pivot and change my mind. I'm never stuck to one thing. And I also think that has to do with my experience in editorial work. Starting off with that, where like you could be at a shoot and we had one thing in mind, but actually take the hat off. We're going to put this instead. We're going to put a bow on her hair. Actually, no hair, put her hair in a bun. And not taking it personally. Like, it's not about you. It's about the shoot.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So. And when was the last time you had a creative block, and how did you get out of it?
A creative block. I think the last creative block I had was probably at the top of the pandemic, where I felt compelled to put some work out there, put some content out to kind of help my community get out of the headspace that we were all in.
Yes.
And that was definitely a struggle. because of what we were dealing with. Like we were dealing with like a global pandemic, death. So it was a lot to find beauty and creativity and pull anything from anywhere, because I couldn't find it. And like I said, travel was something that often inspired me, and I wasn't doing any of that.
You couldn't do it.
Yeah. So my husband and I actually, he was feeling the same. He does like cinematography and video. So we were like, let's just do something here in the house. Like we can't leave the house. Like what can we do? So we took my daughter, and I did like one of my Christopher John Rogers hairstyles on her. Ooh. Like this like big hairstyle, and he put a yellow backdrop on it. We just had her literally sitting in front of her little iPad watching her show, but she had just this like kind of like stoic look on her face, looking like kind of like off to the camera, because we had the iPad right next to the camera. Yeah. And we just started shooting, and we created like a little editorial shoot out of it, and I posted it, and it got so much love online. Allure magazine contacted me. They're like, we saw your shoot with your daughter. We love it. We'd love to feature the both of you. So like 3 months later, she and I were in a shoot for Allure together. So that really just taught me to just trust myself and know that what it is that I'm good at, what it is that God blessed me with, is always with me.
Yeah. Oh, I remember seeing the article in Allure, and I love seeing the content that you put out with your daughter, by the way. I just think it's super inspiring. And I think the example that you just shared is the perfect one, in terms of, we don't always have to go outside of what we already have under like our own roofs to be able to create something that connects and resonates with a community of people.
Right.
So what is the most satisfying career moment for you so far?
So the most satisfying career moments for me so far was definitely, I think, the first Christopher John Rogers runway show. That was just such I felt like an out of body experience, specifically because all of the work that I had been doing up until that point throughout my career, creating work and hair on all kinds of women, all kinds of textures, fighting my way into the industry to even get to do shows, keying shows, like all of that just came to a head in that moment, to see, one, I'm keying this major show, and two, there are women of all colors walking down this runway. I have afros and texture and editorial textured hair walking down the runway. Things that I didn't come up seeing, So it felt so amazing. It felt beautiful. And I still hold that so dear to my heart as a time where, I just really felt like my career, it kind of defined my career. It made me realize how important representation was to me, because of like backstage, like crying, bawling, like, oh my God, this is happening. I'm here doing this. And on these women, that moment really just showed me, like, this is what you're meant to do. Like, you're meant to do it. You're meant to speak about it. And you're meant to be here.
You just gave me goosebumps. I mean, that's, it's very rare sometimes for that to happen many times and frequently in the work that we do day to day. So that's why I had that question for you, because I wanted to see if you could be put back in that place where you felt that energy, and you clearly still do. So that's beautiful. So what's the dream that you have for your life, and what are the steps that you're taking to get there? And it's a big question, but what comes to mind?
What comes to mind? The dream I have for my life is to be a good person. Like, number one, I want to be a good human being, someone that contributes to people's lives in a positive way. I think that's mainly what I try to do in my personal life and also in my career. So outside of, making money, of course, I want to create generational wealth for my daughter. That is also a dream for my life.
Yeah.
But I think mainly because I learned from my dad, who passed of cancer a few years ago, that
I'm sorry to hear that.
thank you. The last thing that you're with is how you made people feel.
Yeah.
And I'm always cognizant of that because of him, and making sure that I try to positively impact people and leave a positive mark on people's lives.
That's, again, another beautiful answer.
Thank you.
And I haven't had an opportunity to really get to know you, even though I'm in the hair care industry and probably been in the same rooms but didn't realize.
Probably.
But just in the few minutes of getting to know you so far today, like I definitely feel that. So I would say you're well on your way if not there already.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Of course. So inclusivity, you talked about it just a little bit earlier on in terms of describing how you felt backstage at your first Christopher John Rogers show. Clearly, first of all, I have to say, I've got to caveat this by saying the word inclusivity right now is a buzzword. And sometimes when I hear it, it irks me. I feel like I need to find a different word for it because everybody's trying to be inclusive, right? But loads of, the brands that are really striving to do this, some are doing it authentically and others aren't. Right. But here's why I feel like inclusivity for you is, it's really important. And the reason why I think that is just based on some of the research I've done on you. You did partner with Pinterest to develop this hair pattern search capability on their site. So for those of you who don't know, if you go to Pinterest now and you search, I don't know, ponytail styles, you'll get a drop down that pops up that says protective styles, coily, curly, wavy, or straight. So then the images that are fed back to you can be more specific and tailored to what you're actually looking for, which is amazing. Amazing. Yes. You've also been incredibly vocal about Black hairstylists being tokenized and being underrepresented, only being called in to style hair of Black individuals. You wrote a guide, 11 ways to support Black hairstylists and creatives during the pandemic, essentially, right after George Floyd, which was a very moving piece and a very actionable piece for the brands out there that are looking for ways to become more inclusive. So this is a Trendwatch moment, and I know you and I have exchanged one or two notes on this recently, but Fashion Week, gosh, it's such a sensitive time for Black models, right? Because they aren't taken care of backstage because there are stylists backstage who either don't have the education, they don't have the tools, they don't have the confidence to style or care for textured hair. There is a video that's going around right now this past couple weeks since we've just come off of New York Fashion Week of a model who is literally doing that. She's backstage. There are hands in her hair, rubbing the hair in all sorts of directions that we know are not good for textured hair. And if she ends up being sent down the runway, not looking like the rest of the cohesive hair look. What's one message you'd like to say to these backstage stylists? Let's start there.
I personally think that we need to go even deeper than the stylist. I think we need to look at production and the key hairstylist. Like who even gave you that job?
Explain what a key stylist is for those who don't know.
So the key stylist is the lead stylist for the show, the stylist that meets with the designer to discuss what the hair look is going to be and creates the hair look. So he or she decides on what the look is going to be and tells everyone, okay, we're doing this ponytail. You go off to your respective tables and you create this look on the models that sit in your chair.
Got it.
So that person, whoever the key is responsible for pulling a team together. And the production team or the brands who are also responsible for hiring that key or bringing this key to be a part of the show. There needs to be some accountability placed somewhere. Like, we need to, like, of course, we're going to look at the stylist, that the fact that they lack the education. Yes, that is a major thing. We have addressed that. But now I think we need to really address the elephant in the room, and that's the key hairstylist and who is doing the hiring? Like, how do you hire someone for a job that you do not know that they know how to do?
Right.
Like, I could never get away with that. Like, I could just never get away with that. I could never get away with saying, like, oh, this straight hair, I don't know how to curl it.
Right.
It's not a thing. It's not, I can't do that. So the fact that that continuously happens, especially at this point, I feel like it's not a secret conversation anymore.
We've had this conversation for years now, for years.
Right. At one point, it was a conversation that we were having behind closed doors amongst ourselves as Black creatives.
Yeah.
Saying, this is ridiculous. How is it still happening, etc. But in the wake of the pandemic, that conversation has now been an open conversation where we are speaking out about this. So everyone is aware that this is an issue. So is it like you just don't care at this point because it's an issue? Like, you cannot be a high level hairstylist and not be aware of this. So I know that you are aware that this is happening. The fact that it's happening under your watch means that you don't care. Because at my shows, the shows that I'm keying, I am making sure, one, that everyone on the team has experience with textured hair. And prior to the show starting, I always tell anyone, if you have a problem with doing anyone in your chair, please make sure you send them to me. Please ask a fellow hairstylist. Do not do any hair that you don't know how to do. Like, and if you have an issue with this look, tell me now. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I feel responsible for every look that walks down the runway, even if I personally don't do it. It's my name that's going down the runway. It's going to be Hair by Naeemah LaFond. Yeah. So I need to make sure that you know what you're doing, you're comfortable, and also that the women sitting in your chair feel confident, feel beautiful, feel as tended to and cared to as everyone else. And not when you sit in the chair, the person's like picking at you or looking at your hair like, ooh, I don't know where to start, what to do. Like, all of that is so important. I've done so many shows where I come over to the model and she's like, you're the key? And I'm like, yeah. And like, she like lights up and it like makes me want to cry. And I'm just like, this is such like a crazy thing that you are, because they come guarded, they come.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Come guarded, of course. And with like their bag of products or a wig to throw on, because we don't know what you're going to do to your hair. Like, we don't know what the hair is going to look like. So God forbid it doesn't look good. At least I have this wig to throw on.
Throw it on.
Or at least I already put my hair in cornrows. So if you don't know how to do the selected look, just leave my cornrows. And that should not be the case. Like, we should be allowed to wear that editorial hairstyle. You should know how to take me from a 4C to a loose wavy. You should know how to, fix or lay down this wig that I'm already wearing. You should know how to fix the edges. You should know you should know that water does not go on freshly pressed hair. That's not how you slick it back.
That is not how you slick it back.
That's not how you slick it back.
The exact way to do the opposite.
To do the complete opposite. Like the basics, you should know that. But again, back to the key, like, you should be on the lookout for that. You should be, especially in this time, like, that's not happening at my show. I want to make sure that every model who sits in any of these chairs is taken care of and she can get the look successfully and there are no issues. Someone needs to take responsibility for that. And we need to start looking at whoever's doing the hiring and whoever's responsible for the team. Because also at the end of the day, like, as a hairstylist, a lot of hairstylists in New York City or just any city, if you're just coming up, you're assisting, you're not making a lot of money. So maybe I don't know how to do this. Like, I'm going to show up anyway because I want this.
Yes. Yes.
They're just showing up because they want.
I was just going to say I was literally going to take us down that road, because I think you said something earlier that made me think to myself exactly what you just said, right? You have the key stylist, and I think what the job, aside from everything that you've already laid out, the job of the key stylist is also to create a safe space for the stylist that they are hiring to put their hand up and say, I don't feel confident. I don't think I could do it. Like, Can you maybe have her sit with so-and-so who I know is more texture proficient? Like, I think that space needs to be created, because otherwise they're walking into these situations where they don't know what they're doing, and they don't feel confident enough to say, I can't do this, because they want that check.
Right. And that's video can be very career damaging to this assistant that's doing the hair. These are assistant hands that are in there. And someone else told them to do this. Someone else gave them a job without knowing that they are capable of doing that job.
Yeah.
So that's so unfair. That's also unfair to them. Like, that key, the people who are doing the hiring also need to take accountability. Yes. Because we can't really put the full blame on the stylist, because one, we're not even teaching texture in school like that. So they won't even.
It's not in the curriculum.
Yeah, it's not in the curriculum. You have to go out there and get it yourself. And oftentimes education can be expensive. So if you're a struggling artist, maybe you don't have the means to get this education. But also, you shouldn't be getting that job. It should just be that simple.
Absolutely.
You don't know how to do this? Okay. I will reach out when I have something that's more of a fit for you.
Exactly. Now, a lot of people, the same video that I'm talking about, a lot of people have started doing some digging, as you read through the comments and whatnot, and it seems as though the designer for that show is a black man.
Right.
Now, how much of a role do you think the designer has in all of this, or do you think it's really just down to the key stylist?
I feel like it's down to the key stylist. By the time the designer has a problem with it, it's too late. The show has to start. The show has to start. That's why it's such a huge responsibility placed on the key hair. Like, it's you have to make sure that this is okay. Because by the time the designer's like, ooh, this hair, girls line up, it's time to go. There's no time to redo and do things over. It's such a tight timeline, because you have to remember, people are going from one show to the next. A show starts at 7 p.m. It starts at 7 p.m. because at 7:30 there's another show.
Absolutely.
So there's no time to do that. So I really wouldn't place the blame on the designer. I think, though, that now, hopefully, designers are more tapped into who is doing the hair. Because oftentimes they get the sponsorship for the branding. They get the sponsor, whoever's going to be the hair sponsor. And that hair sponsor has a lead hair. And that's who's going to do the hair, right?
Yes.
But I think now people need to be more like, okay, yes, you are going to be sponsoring. Amazing. Who's doing hair? Who's the key here? Oh, this person has no experience with textured hair. We have to revisit this. Like, we have to talk about something else, because we need to make sure that the person keying the show is comfortable to lead a show, lead a team of stylists that can do all hair types.
Got it. I think that makes so much sense. Now, I mean, is there another major change that you would like to see in the beauty industry that you have a desire to front or to lead?
Well, I feel like the main change is still in the process. Like, we're still not there. And I feel that it's having more Black leads, more Black people, Black artists keying shows. We're seeing more of that, but I don't think we're seeing enough of it. Clearly, from what we're seeing online.
Clearly,
that is something that I think really needs to change. That we have so much skill. Like, we have to have so much skill in order to be in this industry. And the fact that we are disproportionately allowed access, like such little access to these big shows, these covers, all of these things, it just doesn't make sense. It just, the math is not mathing.
The math is not mathing. Okay, so let's talk about rest, because you're clearly on the go. You're busy. Like, you just said before you dialed into this interview, you were doing a million other things, and 2:00 came and you're on.
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit more about how you're making space for rest. Burnout. That's a real thing. Have you ever experienced it personally?
I think during the pandemic, I experienced some burnout from all the Zoom and the social media, it was a lot because I was more accustomed to in person. Like I'm educating in person. I'm traveling to educate. I can talk to people one-on-one, and doing it online, this kind of like quick bites of human interaction, this get on the Zoom, teach this grade. It just wasn't the same. It just didn't. And I could also see the faces. Like this is like, let's say for example, I'm teaching a class of like 30 people. These are 30 human beings all going through this like human experience that we're all going through. And you could see some people are like having a hard time. Some people are going through, rough days. Maybe some people are experiencing loss. I could just simply say something like, I hope everyone's okay. I hope all of your family's okay. You can see a few people tearing up. That's a hard thing to get, excited about and get into. Like, that's very emotionally taxing, to have to do that day in and day out, day in and day out. Like, it was a lot. So I definitely reached a point where I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I need some space. Like, I need to not Zoom for a while.
Did you do that? Did you implement some rules, some boundaries around that?
Absolutely. And I also was saying yes to too many things, I learned a while ago that no is a complete sentence. But I think in the midst of the pandemic and, wanting to please people and make people feel good, I was putting that boundary away and saying, sure, I'll do that. Sure. Of course I'll be there for your audience. Sure. I can do this podcast when I didn't have it, and making sure that I placed, some boundaries around myself to protect myself. And also, I have to be a mom and a wife, making sure that I have something left for home when I'm done with all the classes and the Zooms. I had to set those boundaries in place to make sure that, I was also taking care of home as much as I'm taking care of myself.
And how do you know when it's time for you to just turn it all off and disconnect from it all?
My husband says I'm so dramatic for this, but when I start saying, I don't think I want to do hair anymore.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the biggest threat to the industry. Don't do that.
Like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. He's like, I think you just need a break. And it's always true. I just like take a little break. I'm like, just kidding. I'm fine.
It's like it's your code phrase. It's your code phrase. When he hears that, he's like, okay, chillax, chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so can you share any examples of ways that you are currently protecting your peace?
Like I said, saying no.
Saying no. Okay.
And holding no and holding tight to that no, because I learned from my mentor as well that yes is very expensive. Because when you say yes to something, not only do you say yes to the thing, but also the follow-up, the emails leading up to that thing, the conversations, whatever happens after that thing. So you're investing in this whole experience surrounding this one thing you said yes to. And maybe you just said yes because you wanted to maybe just get out of that conversation quickly, or, people were watching and you didn't want to make anyone feel bad because there was an audience. But you have to learn to put yourself first and know what's for you and what's not for you. What's a safe space for you, what's going to make you feel good. I mean, even down to like doing interviews like this.
Yeah, of
I
course.
learned during the pandemic that, I can't say yes to everyone. I have to make sure that I want to be featured on this person's platform, and that I like how they interact with their audience, and that it's not a toxic space, and that it's not like drama, because that's not me. in the pandemic, I remember putting myself like on this podcast, like, sure, I'll do it. And then I'm like, wait, what is this conversation about? Like, why are we talking about people?
What are we doing?
Yeah. So it just was knowing that, it's okay to say no, and people have to be okay with your no. And that's that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So takeaway there is no is a complete sentence, and yes is expensive.
Absolutely.
before we move on to the next question, again, another big reason why I'm so thankful and delighted that you're sitting here with me today. Like, you didn't have to say yes. You really didn't have to say yes. So I appreciate it. I really do. And I think that everything that you're sharing is going to be of value to everyone that's listening. So thank you. Genuinely, thank you. All right. Describe your ideal day off. What is Naeemah doing?
Oh, girl, nothing. I love a day of absolutely nothing. No plans at all. That is my ideal day off. I want to just go with the flow and like, if I wake up and decide to go back to sleep, that's
it's
fine.
Okay.
You know, I wake up and like, I'll watch a little TV or just turn that off and read a book. Or, you know what, actually, I want to go for a massage. Just kind of going with the flow and being able to do that, having the freedom to do that is my ideal day off.
When is your next day off?
My next day off is tomorrow, actually.
Oh, good.
Yes. And what am I doing? I have some acupuncture planned and that's about it.
Love it. A really free-flowing day.
Yes.
Okay, so we got to talk about beauty because it's the industry that we both work in. We've talked a bit about it, but I want to go a little deeper. And I want to understand a little bit more about what your earliest beauty moment. Let me say that again. What is your earliest beauty moment that you can remember?
I think the most impactful one that I can remember is my mom taking me with her to the beauty salon. And I specifically remember this one day, and she had a Haitian male hairstylist that flew in from Haiti to like do like his favorite clients. And he took out this, I'm like sitting there watching him take out her roller set, and he's like running a comb through it. You know how you run the comb and do a little wave on it?
The wave.
And I was just like, I just remember feeling like, wait, what is that? Like, how did you do that? Like, that just this kind of like pull to that creative moment. And I was just, I think that's when I was like really fell in love with hair, because I would go back to my Barbies and try to like do a thing and try to replicate how that made me feel.
What you saw. Yeah. That's a really poignant story. Because you create a lot of beautiful waves on the looks that you create, right, from time to time. So I almost wonder if you remember that specific moment as you're creating that, as you're creating those styles today. But beautiful, gorgeous.
I don't remember that moment as I'm creating it, but I do always like hunt for that feeling, how that moment made me feel. That like. Adrenaline, like I can't wait to take these like rollers, I can't wait to run this brush through. Like that's how I felt in that moment as a little girl, that excitement, like, ooh, look how that hair moves, look how big, look at the profile. Like that feeling is always what I'm hunting for when I create a look. That's when I know, okay, this is good.
It's the anticipation of the vibe. That's what that is. That's what it is. Okay, are there any beauty rituals that you grew up with that you still maintain today and maybe you've passed on to your daughter?
Beauty rituals. I personally, my mom didn't really have many rituals, but she did, she was into makeup.
Okay.
As a child. Like, I do remember her with her fashion fair makeup.
Oh, yeah.
Doing her makeup, and I remember sitting there watching her all the time. She would let me help. And to this day, we still do that. So I think that is one of our beauty rituals where we, you know, indulge in makeup together.
And when do you feel the most beautiful?
I feel the most beautiful. I think I feel the most beautiful on vacation.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I think on vacation is when I'm like, okay, work is let go. Like I feel like the most stress-free on vacation. So I think it reads all over my being. Like I'm just in such a chill vibe. I'm not on work mode. I'm not on go. I'm just so like, I think it's the closest to like how I was when I was younger, before jobs and before work and stress. Like you
Yeah.
just feel so like youthful and just like carefree. And I feel like that's when I feel my most beautiful.
I really resonate that because I mean, I'm sure, it is being discussed in the beauty industry today, but I feel like we're going to hear more and more about it. This connection between stress and beauty. Like, wellness is a whole world in itself, but that feeling of, in order for me to feel my most authentic, to feel my most the best version of myself, I need to detach myself from certain things that create anxiety and stress, etc. So I think identifying those stress factors for all of us will make us feel, the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I love that
Stress is
answer.
so physical. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
feel
is.
like, you can read it in your shoulders, like in your face, how you hold your face. Like, it's just such a physical thing that you don't realize until it's not there anymore.
Exactly. So describe your favorite self-care moment. What does that look like?
My favorite self-care moment is a nice hot bath. Like,
Oh,
after like a long day, a long shoot, I'm standing on my feet all day. A nice hot bath is just like the best. With
Are
like
you
a
using
glass of
any?
wine, ideally.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Are you using any fun products along with your bath that you love to use?
I'm trying now this it's this like bath powder from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Osea.
Okay.
OSEA. They
Okay.
do like body creams and stuff like that, but it's like super like fresh smell, like really nice, like natural product. Amazing.
Love. Well, make sure you get that booked into your calendar sometime soon.
Yes.
Maybe on your day off.
Absolutely.
So do you have, if I was to look into your schedule or your calendar right now, do you have any beauty appointments coming up? I know you said acupuncture tomorrow.
Yes.
Anything else?
Lashes. I do.
Oh,
Yeah, my lashes with
okay.
Julian. He's amazing. I go like once every 3 weeks.
Got it.
Yeah, lashes.
Okay.
Probably a standing beauty appointment. That and nails, because my hands are always
in shots.
In shots. So
Yeah.
I'm getting my nails done later to just change the color.
Okay.
I have a work event that I want to like kind of like match my nails to.
Okay.
But nails and lashes are probably my go-to.
Your go-tos. So are there any go-to hair care or beauty, skincare, makeup products that are like your faves? If you can name a couple of those, we'd love to know.
Makeup products. I'm loving Mented Cosmetics.
Ah, yeah. I'm hearing great things.
Yeah, they have this like a peachy blush that I'm wearing right now that I love. Also Live Tinted, obsessed. They have these like kind of like crayon looking.
Got it.
You could use on anything, like on your like
eyes, cheeks, lips. Yeah. It's like a multi-purpose.
I love that. Yes, I'm in glam and I can be glamorous, but I love an easy makeup routine. And those tinted crayons are just everything. And a must-have for me is eyeliner. I love eyeliner.
Ooh.
And I love the Pat McGrath one.
Oh, yes, I do have that. That's a good one. That is a really good one. Now, are you above the lash line type of person for eyeliner or below?
I am a wing and a brown below. Like a black wing and a brown below. So it's not like too dark.
Got it. Okay. Love that. So you wake up one morning, you realize that you're waking up late. You've got 15 minutes to get your makeup or your hair done. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Probably makeup.
Okay.
Because I am also like throw a head wrap on kind of girl, like very easily. Like I love a head wrap. So I probably just throw a head wrap on and do a little quick beat.
Got it. Love that. And you've mentioned some brands already, but are there any Black-owned brands that you just love and you just, rock with?
I love me some Black Girl sunscreen.
That's a good one.
I love the Mented Cosmetics.
Yes.
I think those are two of my favorites. Black beauty brands.
I love this brand called Clerk. Clerk. Don't know if you've heard of it. KLUR. They are not paying me. Promise you that. They have this really gorgeous body oil called Elements of Comfort, and it just smells. It just, like, whenever I smell it, it just gets me into my own space. It's super calming. It's gorgeous. So I recommend it to anyone that is anybody that's willing to listen. I literally have like 3 bottles around the house. It's my favorite.
Okay, adding to cart.
Add to cart. It's gorgeous. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this. I can't believe it's gone really quickly, or as quickly as it has. But
you're so easy to talk to.
Oh, yay! I'm glad to hear that. You honestly are too. What's coming up for you? Is there anything that you want to plug or share at this moment?
I think I'm going to start doing some online education and probably some live education, specifically around editorial work. A lot of people have been asking me about that because I do have done a lot of education on like salon hairstyling, specifically being with Amika. But people are often asking me about like creating editorial work, and I do want to do an editorial masterclass. So,
we're gonna have to look out for that. And I love that you've corrected me subtly on the pronunciation. It's not Amika, which is what I've always said. Amika.
Amika.
So thank you, Amika.
No
Amika. Where can my listeners find you?
I'm on Instagram at Naeemah LaFond.
Perfect. We will add those links, or that link, to the show notes so they can find you nice and easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we get to the end of the interview, I'm going to ask you that same question that I asked you in the beginning again. What's one word to capture how you're feeling right now in this moment?
Hopeful.
Hopeful. Yeah. Okay. What happened between happy and hopeful?
Between happy and hopeful, like talking to people like you who get it and who are so aligned with what we need to do in this industry makes me feel hopeful.
Oh, thank you, Naeemah. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, as I've said. I can't believe this is the first time we have seen each other face to face and have spoken. It feels like we've known each other for a while.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes to this. And
for having me.
Of course.